Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another review for Most Ardently by Gabe Novoa. This is a standalone historical young adult novel, but it is a part of the historical remix series, which is a series done by this publisher where they do remixes of historical classics with people of color and with LGBT characters. This is the first novel that I've read from the series, but I'm definitely interested in checking out more books in this series because this one was really fun and really good. So this is a coming of age queer novel. The strong point about this novel for me is that it's a really great balance between family, friendship, romance, coming of age. It has a lot of different elements, but they work really harmoniously to do this story. And the remix for this is, of course, Pride and Prejudice, and I feel like it does something really interesting with the remix factor. So this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and of course we are following our main character, Oliver Bennet, who was born Lizzie Bennet. But Oliver is pretty comfortable. He knows who he is. He knows how he feels. Because of the historical time period, he has been living in the closet, and he basically sneaks out of the house to dress up the way that he wants to be dressing up as a boy in the society. There are two new people on the London scene, Darcy and Bingley. Bingley takes instantly to Oliver's older sister, but Darcy is just really prickly and just does not get along with anybody until Oliver meets Bingley at an event where he is dressed up as a man. Bingley does not notice this fact, and they become friends, and then Darcy's there, and what do you know? Darcy and Oliver are hitting it off. And so one of the things I really liked about this is that it really is not afraid to go offbeat with the Pride and Prejudice story retelling. I recently read a Pride and Prejudice retelling book, and I really enjoyed it. But there was something also just really remarkable and really wonderful about reading a classical retelling of the book in the historical time period and just going off of the traditional story beats about not being afraid to change things. Because Oliver is trans, I feel like the author approached this book as if the character had always been trans. How would the story unfold? How would it unfold differently? And that really worked here. I really enjoyed the story not being afraid to do stuff that was different than the original book. There was just a lot to enjoy about this novel. I really liked the friendship dynamics. I liked the family aspect. The supportive family was just a really nice touch. And overall, this was just a really enjoyable, lovely retelling of Pride and Prejudice. Of course, there are content and trigger warnings for this. The biggest is going to be internal dysphoria. Oliver just is not comfortable wearing women's clothing. He is not comfortable being referred to as a woman, but of course he obviously is in this story. And there is also obviously a lot of dead naming because he is not out of the closet. But for the most part, all of that dead naming and misgendering is unintentional until kind of more of the climax of the book where you're dealing with bad characters. There is homophobia, transphobia, sexism, misogyny. At the end, there is a force/pressed coming out, as in Oliver is kind of, in a situation where he feels like he has to come out. I will say it is not super uncomfortable or awful because, again, it is an accepting situation, and also Oliver is ready to come out. He was thinking about doing it the entire novel, and just like in this situation, he gets to come forward and decide he's gonna do it before this other character can out him. So work with that what you will. If you're sensitive to those topics, I'm not one to say that it was done badly or, not done well or whatever, but it all worked really well, and I feel like the author was very intentional and sensitive to these topics. And they also have a very nice author note at the beginning. You can get more information about why they did things the way they did. They have an author's note at the end that also discusses some of the historical stuff. The biggest change to me with this novel that I was really interested in is that this book is set in London versus being set in the countryside. This is obviously very intentional so that we can have the Molly House representation or these spaces where queer people would meet. And so I get it. I get why we're set in London. That felt like the weirdest anachronism to the Pride and Prejudice story to me because I'm just so used to it not being set in London. Ultimately like that choice because I did like seeing the queer scene incorporated into the novel. So overall, this was really fun. This was really enjoyable. I would say the biggest gripe I have with this is what I have with all Pride and Prejudice retellings. Because of the story of Pride and Prejudice, the way it's outlined, you don't get a ton of Darcy and Oliver in this case towards the end of the third act. So it always feels like you need just a little bit more romance in there. And that was true for this book, as well as the other Pride and Prejudice retelling. They both kind of had that issue. But I don't want to fault it in this case too heavily because, again, it had the family aspect, it had the friends, it had other stuff going on, which made Oliver's story just really compelling and good because there was enough other stuff going on that the romance didn't need to carry the entire plot. If you've seen this book around recently, it's because, you know, not just because it's a new debut novel, it's also because it had a little bit of a, I don't want to say controversy, but, you know, there was a little bit of pushback from this book when it came out a couple months ago. A non-trans author had read this and had some opinions about it, mainly that it was misogynistic, and rightfully that review got a lot of pushback and was called out pretty heavily. And I just want to agree with the people that called that person out. Now having read it, I can put my 2 cents in. So no, I don't think Oliver is being misogynistic. He is experiencing extreme dysphoria by being put in situations that he does not feel comfortable in. You know, there's this whole rhetoric behind if a female character in a book wears dresses and doesn't like them, that they are somehow a pick-me or misogynistic. There are butch women. Like, can we just not can we have characters that don't want to dress in pretty dresses and feel uncomfortable in different gender expressions? Like, that's what's happening here. It's dysphoria. It's not misogyny. It's misogyny when people hate on women or like feminine things and think they're stupid because they're feminine. A character not liking something for themselves, like Oliver doesn't like stitching or needlework, does not make them misogynistic. Would it have been like a nice nod to have a male character needlework, or would it have been a nice touch to have Oliver be like, needlework is really impressive, but I could care 2 shits about it? Sure, I guess, but like in the grand scheme of things, it was a non-issue, you know? But yes, if you're looking for a cute YA book, this really just tickled my fancy. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a well-written story. It made me interested in the rest of this catalog. It was fun, it's sweet, it has a really cute cover, and yeah, I just really enjoyed this. Really highly recommend it. So if you've been looking for that new Pride and Prejudice retelling to read, this is one I would recommend. But thank you so much for watching. I would love to know your thoughts about the book if you've read it or if you're going to read it. So let me know in the comments down below. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later, and happy reading.